What's up, friends? This is Office Hours, and we are excited to answer questions and whatnot. If you've never been to Office Hours before, this is just once a week. I'm here to help you out. And yeah, so you can ask questions in the Discord. This is my bot logs. Those are the people who are joining. This is my family chat. Whoops. Let's go to Office Hours. There we are. And yeah, we're going to be answering questions that have been asked. I only have one question that somebody asked that I thought would be easier to answer during office hours. So if you have questions, throw them in here. I do occasionally look at the YouTube chat, but I don't often do that. So I guess I should look at multi-stream to see maybe people are on Twitch. But anyway, yeah, I just consolidate here to the Discord. And so you jump in the Discord if you want. And all the links and everything are in here. I also give priority to people who join the Zoom call. And so if you join the Zoom call, then you can like share your screen and stuff too. So with that said, I will go to the first question available. This is from Seven. And so I will reply to this. 7. I'm answering this now on stream. Speaking of, let me just grab this link really quick. And yeah. Okay, come in here. Let's just make sure that I am following the question. So, in a lesson about use transition, Ken said, anytime you have a state update that's going to trigger suspense boundary. So let's go to suspense.epic react dev. We have transition somewhere in here. Transition, yeah, use transition. Here we go. It's probably in the video of this lesson is what we're talking about. I really need to get this to open the most relevant file. It doesn't actually run anyway. This is just for preview purposes, but anyway, yeah, so here in this example, we've got, yeah, so we're going to use transition because whenever we change the ship, our component suspends, but it's annoying. Here,
One thing that you'll notice as we navigate between these different ships is that we go to our loading state, and that's kind of annoying. Of course, once it's cached, then it's going to
yeah, so we were going to the loading state. Was that?
Be instant.
Yeah,
and that
okay, you did hear that. So yeah, we go to the loading state between these things. And if it's fast enough, like, why did you go to the loading state? Why don't you just leave it where it was? And maybe show some other pending UI. So that's what use transition is allowing us to do. Now we get our pending state. It'll leave the old UI around with the is pending thing, so you can render whatever you want, but it doesn't change. It doesn't abandon where this code is running and go to the pending UI from the suspense boundary. It just stays in this component with this is pending state. So anytime you have a state update that's going to trigger suspense boundary. And this is a state update that changes a prop in a component that uses the use hook. So as I understand, using the use hook triggers the suspense boundary. And I have two questions. So first of all, just using the use hook doesn't necessarily trigger the suspense boundary. It's when you pass a promise that has not yet been resolved. There's some nuance to that too. But yeah, pretty much you pass a promise that's not been resolved yet, that will trigger the suspense boundary. Yeah, just because you're using the use hook doesn't necessarily mean you're going to suspend, but you're probably using it because you do want to suspend. So just throwing a little nuance there. Is this use of the use hook triggering the transition, or has there been a suspense boundary in between to make it work? So that part I'm not totally sure I understand what you mean you're asking, but we have here, let's look at the code here. I think it's all in this file actually. So we have our suspense boundary right here. We have our ship details. Ship details is right. Oh, somebody just joined the Zoom. Hello. Hey, it's Taryn. What is up, my bud? How are you doing, man?
Good, man. Good to see you.
It's
Feel
good
like
to
it's been like 2 months since I've
yeah.
seen you, dude.
Yeah, it's been a bit. I'm just in the middle
Yeah.
of answering this question, and then we can chat.
Okay.
So yeah, ship details right here. Oh, here, let me share my screen too, so you don't have to bother looking at the YouTube. There we go, much better. And I'll not have my face on twice. There we go. Cool, cool. Okay, just gonna move this around. Yeah, okay, so this use hook right here is calling get ship. Get ship is in our utils, and that returns a promise. We have caching implemented. That's something we did in a previous step. Yeah, so we can always hang on to the promise represented by that ship's name. Okay, so all of that context now. So when use is called and or rather when get ship is called for a ship name that we don't have cached already, we're going to create a new promise that will trigger a fetch request, and it will resolve when that fetch request is done. And the use hook will receive that promise and say, oh, this isn't resolved yet. I don't have any value for this, so I'm going to attach a dot then, and I'm going to throw the promise, which all of that stuff we learned in the previous exercise. We build the use hook ourselves. And then React says, oh, okay, you threw a promise, ship details. Let me go up your element tree and find your closest suspense boundary. Oh, here it is. I will render that instead. And so the subject or the object of this lesson is to make it so that we don't end up rendering the suspense boundary, and instead we stick around. I think we make the change to the ship details. Yeah, pretty sure we. Hold on a second. No. The change goes up here, so that we can add some pending UI right here rather than rendering the suspense boundary. So by putting the let's back up a little bit more. The reason or when that happens, when that suspense boundary is shown, it's because we are updating this state right here. And so we can tell React, hey, React, I'm going to be making some state updates, and I want, and if there are any renders in the process of those state updates that trigger suspense, I want you to not render the suspense fallback, and instead, I want you to give me an isPending Boolean. So that's how we do this. We just wrap the state update in a start transition. We get our isPending state, and then we can do whatever we want to with that. And React will just say, oh, okay, then I won't render the suspense fallback. You can do whatever you want to. So we'll leave the ship details the way that it was. I could pass the isPending state to ship details. So there is technically a re-render going on here so we can get the pending state. But we are not going to fall back to this suspense boundary. So that's what's going on there. Hopefully that answers the question. Let me just go and review it again. So is the use of the use hook triggering the transition, or has there be a suspense boundary in between to make it work? So no, we could actually remove this suspense boundary, and then the use transition would work fine. The trick though is that a transition happens as a result of a state change, and so when we originally render the app, this suspense boundary is necessary for that initial render for the ship details. If we remove the suspense boundary, then when we call use with the new promise, React will say, okay, let me go find your closest suspense boundary, because we're not in a transition. This is like a brand new suspending component. And so we're going to go up. If this didn't exist, we'd keep going up. Let's see the app. The app doesn't have a suspense boundary. If I remember right, I think it actually just throws an error. Maybe it shows a white screen. You definitely get a warning in the console at the very least, because that's not a great user experience. You do want to think about that pending state. So technically, the suspense boundary isn't necessary for the transitions, but it is necessary for the initial load. Hopefully that answers that question. Second question is this okay? A new okay? Okay, I don't know what that is supposed to mean in React. Is it now okay in React that on page load I no longer have to use effect to make a state call, but if I want to just have just one initial fetch, it's okay to do it in the use hook, e.g. in the component that accepts no props and is wrapped in memo, so I'll not re-render. Or if like with this ship details, I run use in the function body, the render area, and it will trigger the suspense and transition and all the good stuff. But I need to memorize my function call. Would React Cache not be better than object map? Okay, there are like a bunch of questions. Yeah, but, or, and, a lot in there. But I think I'm following, and this example might help. So we're memoizing ship details. This is very narrow. Here we go. No props, no re-renders, except for internal state stuff. We get our ship. You call the ship in the render body, just fetch something once. Question 1. Okay, I think I understand this will already be considered a transition, and this use transition is to prevent the suspense from displaying the loading UI. Yes, but during your initial render, you are going to be showing the suspense boundary, which you want that. You do want to show the suspense boundary. You got to show the user something. But yeah, because there's no reason for this to re-render, the ship details, like you will never be giving a new promise to the use hook, and so this will never trigger suspense after that initial render. Question 2, is it better to do an initial fetch like this, or would it be better to do it with use effect? So there are a couple of things. First of all, I'd say no, don't do, use effect is gone. Don't use it for this stuff anymore. We should not do this anymore. This is much better, considering that get ship is cache and everything. Even better though is that this get ship is done earlier in the process of rendering. So there is this concept called fetch as you, or render it. What it was always like people said it different ways, and so now I'm messed up. Let's see if I can find what the proper verbiage is. Render as you fetch. Maybe they removed it. As you fetch. Now, I think it may actually be in the old docs. No, oh man, we can't get to the old docs. Anyway, I think it was called render as you fetch, or fetch. So like there are a couple of, actually, you know what? Let's see, React, suspense, netlify. So this is Epic React version 1. Here it is, render as you fetch. And there is an alternative to this. Render then fetch, I think. Yeah, here, let's look at this. Right here. This is why render as you fetch matters. So here's the problem that, I'll explain what render as you fetch means, but this is why it matters. So your application loads. Here I'm loading an image, that doesn't matter. Here's an options request, also doesn't matter. So pretend those aren't there, scooch these over. You'll see now we're making a data request, and when that's done, we're making a image request. There could also be like additional code. So once the data loads, now you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to render this component now, and it's lazily loaded, so we're going to have to go and fetch that, and on and on and on. So what render as you fetch does is it says, hey, let's just scooch these all over. And in fact, you could even take this further to, because we have this stupid options thing. So if you're on the same domain, you wouldn't have the options. This would be scooched over as well, which you probably should be. But in any case, that's just a stupid course thing. Bad for the example. I probably should have come up with something else. But anyway, scooch that over. The whole thing is straight down, means it's going to be faster. So what render as, or render then fetch, render as you fetch, what that means is that you start the fetch request before the component that needs the data is rendered. That's what that means. And so that means that the parent that knows that it needs to render both the child component and that child component needs the data, the parent is going to be responsible for doing that. This can be kind of difficult to set up yourself, which is why we have frameworks. And Remix has taken the loader away from the component. So now Remix can call the loader without bothering rendering the component. What we have now is the ship details is the thing that is triggering get ship. This is okay, it's fine, we're not code splitting anything, so it's gonna be just as fast. But if we were to code split ship details, then we'd have to go and fetch ship details code, And then once that's done, we can go and perform this fetch. So an even better way to do this would be to move the get ship up into the app and then pass that promise down to ship details. That way, as soon as this handle ship selection is performed, as soon as that state update happens, we've already started the fetch. And then we can also fetch the ship details. So if I were to enhance this exercise at all, then I would say, okay, what if we wanted to optimize the ship details? It's like a huge component, tons of code, doesn't always render. So we're going to code split it. We'll put it into a react.lazy. Well, now we have to load that code first, and then we can make the fetch call. But we already know all the information we need to make the fetch call. So let's move the fetch call into the app and then pass the promise instead of just the ship name. And that would be functionally the same, but optimized for performance. But nobody wants to do that. And so that's why we have frameworks, and that's why you use Remix. So there you go. Hopefully that answers your question. Do not use useEffect. useEffect suffers from the same problem. You'd have to move the useEffect and stuff. Nobody wants to do that anyway. Yeah, don't use useEffect. And even if you don't want to use the use hook like this, and if you want to get into like more serious caching strategy stuff, then you probably want to use TanStack query or React query. That is going to do a lot more for you than our simple cache map thing here. As far as the react.cache question that you threw in here at the end, I have not used react.cache myself. It's too experimental for my blood. And so I know that the Next.js team feels confident that they can throw a bunch of stuff at their users and then change things all the time. And that is just not the way I like to develop software. And so I have not been in a situation where I used it, but I probably will in the future. And then I'll have a better idea of whether React.cache is a good solution for this. It's my impression that React.cache is really just so that multiple components in a single render can access the same value rather than making, like if we had multiple components that all needed the ship data, that one of them would kick it off and then React cache would make sure that the rest of them don't kick off the same request. And then when it's all done, then it resolves. And then I think the cache is freed at that point, but I could be wrong. So it may not be the right solution for what we're doing, but maybe it is. I'm not totally positive on that. It could be. Try it out. Let me know. Okay, hopefully that answers your question. Thanks for asking. And yeah, that's that. What's up, Taryn? You got a question?
I do. I got multiple.
Sweet. Let's hear them.
Okay, so we finally, thank God, switched over to using Zod at work instead of Yup for schema validation. I might have asked this already, but do you have an opinion on using Zod to like validate the requests coming from third-party providers? Because we have like a bunch on prod. Yeah. So is it worth the performance hit or no?
It absolutely is. And if you're worried about the performance hit for some reason being a problem, then you can strip it out. And in fact, I think I've got an example where I kind of talk about or at least show that. I just saw there it is. Thanks, Taryn. I'll throw that in the Discord here as well. Yeah, okay, so I totally forgot that I literally wrote an article about that. Yeah, so if we go into, let's see, API, Epic API server, here we go. So this is the code for the Epic Shop. The Epic Shop app, and this is the file where I manage integration with the Epic Web API. So loading videos, transcripts, progress, all of that stuff. And you'll see I've got Zod configs all over the place for this stuff, and I'm parsing the response. So here we've got our fetch request right here. I've got my response, and then I'm going to get the JSON of that, parse that. If it's successful, then I send back the relevant data, and it's all beautifully type safe. Look at how, like, that's just great. I love that. Otherwise, this caching stuff from whatever. But yeah, same thing for all of this stuff. And because I'm using Cachefied, it has built-in support for Zod. So I can say if there's a value in the cache, make sure you check it against this schema in case I change it. And if that value in the cache is wrong, then throw it away and get a fresh value. That way we can migrate over time, change the implementation of this stuff, which is nice. So yeah, I definitely use Zod. I think it's awesome for this is exactly what Zod is for in my mind. As far as the potential performance hit, I really don't think it's going to be a problem. Like when we're talking about network requests, you're talking about hundreds of milliseconds. And so adding maybe a millisecond or two for parsing. I mean, let me caveat all of this. I'm assuming that you're not loading like megabytes worth of JSON data. If you were, then maybe this is a different conversation. But for most JSON responses, it's not going to be quite that much. And so I don't expect it to be a performance problem. That said, it actually wouldn't be super difficult to just skip on the processing or the parsing. Maybe this feels a little bit imposing on your code, but I would only do this for things that are like, this is pretty obviously a performance problem. So I'd say if process env is development, then we'll parse it. Otherwise, we'll just return the await response JSON, and we do as that. So you can still get the type safety, but like it is important to like actually do the parsing, right? And to get errors if there is an error. And so I wouldn't recommend doing this, but yeah, if there is a performance problem, then this is a way to work around it.
Yeah, no, because we've had production issues in the past where a third party changed their API contract and they didn't let us know.
Ooh.
I mean, failed email, we missed an email. And I think once is enough because you had 10 devs looking at prod trying to figure out what's going on. So
yeah, yep,
yeah,
parse
so
it.
Zod. Yeah, so I'm glad that we're using Zod now.
Yeah, hallelujah.
Okay. Yeah. Next question for you. Is your web dev challenge video that you did with Jason out on YouTube yet?
No, I don't know when that's coming out. It should be pretty soon.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. All good. I've been looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm also wondering, so I made some changes to my website and I'm wanting to add like ConvertKit for my newsletter. I'm wondering if you've written anything about how to set that up at all. Like I'm looking at your code, trying to figure it out, and I have a general idea what you're supposed to do, but
yeah, I've not written anything about setting up ConvertKit.
I can do that then after.
Yeah, you know where I would look though. I don't know if it's joelhooks.com. Yeah, here we go. ConvertKit automations. I don't know. This is for self-paced email course stuff. So you could look at that if you wanted to get into that side of things. But maybe you do. That would be cool. Here's also, yeah. Oh, there's a whole section on email marketing.
Yeah.
So, awesome. Yeah, those would probably be useful. I'll throw that in the Discord here too.
Thank you,
Joel. I pretty much here's my philosophy on doing this area of stuff. I do whatever Joel says, and then it looks great. So,
okay, sounds good. Yeah. I'll give that a look. Joel, he's part of the team that helped make Epic Web like all the Epic stuff, right?
Yeah, he's the guy. Yeah, he's my partner for pretty much everything that I do, including like even Epic Web Conf. Which, by the way, I'll just say to anybody watching, the dates are March 25th and 26th. And it's going to be in Salt Lake City in the Hilton. I'll be announcing that. I've got a cool video to announce it. That is, yeah, here we go. Should I watch it with you all right now? No, I'm not going to do that. We'll do it later, but I just got the exports. I'm going to download these. Download the MP4s. Where's the download button? Oh, there it is. Yeah, so that is going to be sweet. This is probably massive, actually. He makes very, very large things. But anyway, so I'll be posting that later today, and I'll send out an email. But yeah, it's going to be sweet. So yeah, anyway, Joel helps me with that. We go 50-50. If we lose money, he loses half. So it's less risk for me, and he manages like all of the stuff I don't want to do, like taking sponsors' money and all of that stuff, and paying our vendors and whatever. And then, yeah, Joel basically does all the things I don't want to do, and I love him for it.
So you can focus on the stuff you actually want to do.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good way of doing it.
Yep, it works.
Yeah. Okay, I'll check out his stuff. To be honest, I haven't seen Joel that active on social media, or maybe he's just like not in my Twitter bubble or
He
whatever
moved
bubble.
over to Blue Sky mostly now.
Oh, yeah, I feel like everyone's shifting over there. I should probably get more active on that.
I'm on both, and it's fine. It is a different vibe. It like in a good way. It's a lot. Actually, I just saw when we were over on Joel's site. I hope this auth key isn't a problem. I don't care. People, go ahead and download it. I really don't care. If you care that much about the conference, I can't wait to see you there. But yeah, he posted Blue Sky is more like Twitter than X is, which I think is correct. It does feel a lot more like Twitter used to be, which there are I really like what X has become in some ways, and I dislike what has become in others. My biggest beef with X is that having a large following doesn't seem to matter anymore because it's all algorithmic and stuff, which frankly, like, I have mixed feelings about, because like the best content should surface to the top whether or not it's by somebody who has a huge following. But at the same time, people follow me because they want to see my stuff. And so if they're not seeing my stuff, then what is following even? So I have mixed feelings about the whole thing. But I think it's worthwhile being on both. And I just hit yesterday, I just hit 10,000 followers. So like it is like things are happening over there. If this will,
starting to. So. You know what's funny too? So I actually have the notification bell turned on for whenever you tweet. So I'm like,
really?
It. Yeah. Oh, what's Ken talking about? Let me get in on that. But I turned it off for a little bit, and I didn't see much of your stuff coming into my feed, which was kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's just the way of it. And like when I launched Epic React V2, it just was crickets. It was not great. I mean, like I sent an email, and so I got lots of sales from that. But on the social media side of stuff, it just nobody saw my announcement. And maybe like there's probably some on me for not making it as awesome as I did, and it motivated me to make that music video that I did. So like there's that. But yeah, it just it's just changed, and I have mixed feelings about the whole thing. I'm on both. I like them both.
Okay. Well, I gotta get more active on Blue Sky. I have one more thing.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm like committing to doing this now because I've been talking about it for years. But I gave a talk at work, and I mimicked what it would be like to give a like presentation in front of like a real life audience. So I asked people to come in person, even though we're a remote first company. Only 3 people showed up, which is fine. And then the next plan is like to do a meetup. But so I gave the talk, but I got no feedback. So I don't know if I did a good job or not.
Yeah.
How would you address that situation where it's like you give a talk, people listened, you think you did a good job, but you don't really know?
Yeah, I totally know what you're talking about, and it stinks. It is the way it is. So for a while, at the end of my talks, I would add a short URL for a feedback form. I got a couple responses to that sometimes. Yeah, the best feedback is if they ask you to do it again or invite you to to the event or whatever. That's like you can't get more positive feedback than that. But for something at work, like at least in my experience, nobody was ever asking anybody to present on anything, and so. You're probably that's not going to be a good metric for you. Like whether they invite you back like that, sure. Like if you say, hey, I want to do this again, they'd be like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. So that's just the way that work relationships are. So probably the best thing for you to do on that is to just keep delivering in various places, and you'll get a better sense for how you feel about it. Eventually, people will come up to you and say like that they really liked it, or maybe they had questions. You could ask directly to people. Just send them a Slack message and say, "Hey, I'm trying to improve my skills here. What do you think? Like, was it actually good?" And so, yeah, that could be. That's probably, if you really wanted to get feedback from your coworkers, that's what I would do.
Okay. All right. Makes sense. Yeah, I gotta.
How did you feel? Like, did you feel like you did a good job? Like,
oh, I put in the work, man. Like, I practiced 20 times. Like, I recorded myself. Like, I even uploaded like a private video to YouTube to like, I treated it like I would treat a conference talk, because it's like, if you don't treat practice like the actual thing,
then you
when
don't
you
get
to the
experience.
main
Yeah.
stage, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like I did a good job, but the venue, it's just different, dude. Like when I got in front of people after 2 years or 4 years, however long it's been, it was like a different vibe. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this then. When are you going to submit to Epic WebConf?
I don't know, man. Put me on spot.
Come on. Just go over here, hit submit a talk, and you can submit multiple. If you're not sure which one, just like send me a bunch. I'm not promising that I'll accept them, but I promise I will not accept talks that you don't submit. That is a promise.
Yeah, I already have the no anyways, right?
Yeah, you got the no. You got the no.
I already got the no. Might as well go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So okay, cool.
Cool,
Appreciate
dude.
it, man.
All right. I just got a question in here. Did you have anything else, or you all good?
No, I should be good for the most part. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So RG is asking, what's next for Epic Stack? I know our set V7, React Router V7 will be done. That's coming. Like they said in the live stream yesterday or 2 days ago that they're planning on releasing that before Thanksgiving. Like they're very committed to that. It's all docs right now. So yeah, that is exciting. What about features like image optimization? Ooh, yeah, that's one that's always eating at me. That one and queues and jobs, background jobs. Yeah, those ones are eating at me constantly. Are you still planning to switch from ShadCN to Draft UI comparable option? Okay, so that last one's easy. I'm not planning to switch. I was evaluating the other options, and I don't feel so strongly about it that I would switch. ShadCN and Radix are like, Radix is getting maintenance by Chance the dev. What's his last name? Strickland. And he's a really smart engineer. They're like super duper popular. There's a lot to be said for just doing what the rest of the ecosystem is doing. And Draft UI has just not got as much backing on it. And I don't feel so strongly about the improvements going from Radix to React Aria and actually React Aria still, I think, has issues with internationalization as well. So I'm a little concerned about that. But I still need to evaluate it. And I just, in the last few weeks, here's the deal. I'm building a house and we're moving next month. And so I just have been so tied up with that I haven't had time to work on evaluating ShadCN versus Draft UI. Something, if you want to help, something that you could really, really help with is making an example of switching. Like if you do it yourself, then I can see what the difference looks like and how hard it is and everything. So yeah, that would help a lot if you're really interested in that. Same thing with image optimization. I actually do have Epic ingest. Yeah, so there's this. Actually, yeah, I guess it's on the first pull request. This way back in October, I was in the middle of launching Epic React V2, so I give myself a pass, but it has been a while. But yeah, this integrates ingest, and that takes care of our background jobs. And what's cool is that you should be able to run this locally, and even run it as a sidecar process to your Epic Stack app in Fly. And so you don't even have to sign up for ingest or anything. It all just works on your own, which is super cool. I got them to do that. I said, here's what I want. And they said, yeah, we can make that. And so I still need to finish creating this example and then maybe bringing this in directly into the Epic stack. Because jobs and stuff like that are pretty important for most apps. Image optimization, another one. Right now we're just like saving the user avatar in the database, and it works fine for like small images and stuff, but probably not the best. The thing I need to look into for that is Tigris. Is it tigris.io? No, it's not. I need to Tigris. Delete that. Tigris. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Tigris. Tigris Euphrates. Oh, goodness. Tigris data. That's why I had the data. Tigris data. There we go. .com. There we go. I'm going to type that in. tigrisdata.com. Hopefully that helps my browser help me. Tigris is the way to do the images. It has like really nice integration with Fly, and you just stick it in, like use whatever S3 compatible thing. I think I'd probably avoid an SDK if we can. Just have a little utility file that saves something in the object storage, and then you get a URL, and then you stick the URL in the database, and now you're good. So that's what I would like to do. And then as far as optimization goes, I would like to have a resource route that like handles optimization. And in fact, this would make a lot of sense as an integration with ingest. So you say, okay, user uploaded a photo. We want like 6 different sizes of that. So load that in, process it, and then stick it into Tigris. And now we've got URLs for all those things, whatever. That would make sense for that if you really wanted to go deep into optimizations. Not sure that would be a good default, but it definitely would be a really great example. Anyway, not every app has user uploads, and so I actually do think that user avatars just stuck directly in the database is not a terrible idea, especially if you're not expecting over 100,000 users. Then it's actually probably a pretty reasonable way to do things. But if you're building an app that's like a consumer app and you do expect a ton of users, then what we're doing right now is not going to be great. And you would want to do Tigris, and you probably want to do image optimization. So you have the big image, and then you got a small image. Maybe Tigris wouldn't be the right solution for that either. Potentially, I think it probably would, but maybe you wouldn't do that on demand, or by default you do it on demand or something. I don't know. There's a lot to evaluate with this, and what actually goes into the Epic stack is also tricky. But yes, that's a long answer to your simple question. Is React Router v7? That's definitely going to happen pretty soon. I really want that. Image optimization, I probably am not going to have time for that anytime really soon. And same, I do want to get the ingest stuff done. That really does need to get merged, and I need to put it into the Epic stack directly. I just need to, like, the tricky thing with that is I'm not sure, like, what are the best ways to get that sidecar process running and all of that stuff. So that one definitely I want to have happen. The ShadCN thing, probably I'm not going to do that. I would love to see an example of that though. Okay, Sir AD, I'm never going to switch to Arc. That just won't ever happen. I've been using Brave for a really long time, really happy with it. I have no desire to switch my browser. I've actually been using Brave since like probably 2019, something like that, for a long time. I like Brave. It's great. Okay, good. Well, that's all of that. Lots of stuff to think about. If anybody has other questions, you can jump on the Call Kent podcast, record your call. It's 2 minutes or less or so. Like, you can talk longer. It's fine. I don't actually care that much. It's just harder to answer your question if it takes much longer than that, because you probably have like 12 questions you're actually asking. But adding context is a good thing. So so you can record it right there, accept that, and give me your title and description and all that stuff. That pretty much, I just use that wholesale for the episode, because then I respond and that turns into an episode here. So feel free to ask further questions there. Just going to wait for this last chat to come in, and then we'll be going. I got to clean the house. Okay. It's still typing. Typing is happening. Still happening. Still typing. Oh, stop typing. Okay. Well, thanks everybody. That was fun. And I will see you all in the future. Goodbye.